Hello, welcome to the Film Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always, we're your hosts, Cole Selby and Mac Taylor. But today, my computer's being a piece of shit. So I am on the old laptop. So if you hear an echo that you don't normally hear in our podcast, that's because I'm in a very spacious dining room, so it echoes very loudly. But today we're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from 1986. Came out a whole ass 12 years after the first one. Whereas most horror films get a sequel fairly quickly. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in the 70s when, sequels to horror films weren't really common.
Yeah.
But the sequel came out in the 80s where pretty much every horror film got a sequel of some sort. 80s was slasher central. The more blood, the more bodies, the better. So, it took a while, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre got a sequel treatment. But it was actually directed and written by the same person, Tobe Hooper, who did the first one. But the tone is completely different.
Yeah. It's a very stark contrast. It's almost like it's not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It's almost like that name almost doesn't fit, but it's great.
So had you seen this movie before, Cole?
Yeah, I've watched it before. I watched it when I was little. I've watched this one. But I used to watch it a handful of times. It was one of those ones we had on VHS.
I usually, this is I believe, now that we're rewatching the series, I'll know 100% for sure. But this has always been my favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie because of just the complete ridiculous nature of it. It's fun. But yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll jump right into it. We'll talk about some trivia stuff at the end, but there's not as much to talk about as there was with the original because the original was such an iconic film, whereas this one is, it's a sequel to an iconic film, but it's got its own things that it does differently and I think are worth talking about. We start off with another opening narration, this time done by a different person. And basically it kind of says Sally went comatose or catatonic or whatever. And the police never found the killers from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And, people are still disappearing all over the place and things like that, which it shouldn't be that hard to find these people.
Yeah.
It really but it's mentioned in this movie that the police are afraid to do something, but why?
Yeah, they're normal people, and you have guns.
Yeah,
and you're in Texas,
and they have chainsaws. That's it. That's all they got.
Yeah,
and one grenade.
They had.
That's it.
This is if they're just really incompetent. They're making the police incompetent, on purpose.
Basically,
I get it, but geez, it shouldn't be that. I said, it shouldn't be that.
And then we see these two, I guess they're teenage, college kids.
They seem like level to me. I don't know. They just look like it.
You were breaking out there, Cole. What were you saying?
Oh, they kind of seem more like college students to me.
Yeah, but they were
college
level
or college age
college students. It kind of reminded me of Happy Birthday to Me.
Yeah. Oh.
How just shitty these teenagers were. It's I would kill them too. You know what I mean? Because they're out joyriding, shooting signs for reasons.
Yeah. Because that was the thing people did.
Yeah, I guess, in 80s Texas, people were just so incredibly bored that they went around just drunk driving and shooting signs. And they call in to the radio station to our main character, Stretch, and they're just being dicks. And I guess Stretch just can't hang up the phone herself because she keeps saying hey, just go ahead and hang up the phone. It's what? Don't you have a way to disconnect a call on your station? So you're telling me people can just call and you answer and they can just say whatever the fuck they want to and finish and then they can, that's not how radio works. The censors would be losing their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
uh there's a lot of loopholes or plot holes in this movie where it's like shit should not work the way it does, or for like no reason. Like there's no reason
Yeah.
she shouldn't be able to hang up on these people. It doesn't really but we needed a way to get the whole like tape there.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they're gonna play chicken with this truck, which is like, yeah, it's gonna bite them in the ass later, but it's like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
blame the people in the truck for being upset.
No.
Because they
No.
run them off the road, so then they come back for them.
Yeah.
And
Like,
but the truck they ran off the road was Leatherface and his crew, and they're not
yeah.
happy about getting run off the road.
No.
So Leatherface, who has the hitchhiker's body like sewn to his body, or like
Yeah.
so he's using
Like
it to like wield the chainsaw.
Mhm.
And so like all Stretch hears is like screaming and chainsaw noises. But he saw Leather, and they try to shoot the hitchhiker's body. It's like, clearly that's a dead guy.
Yeah.
You should aim for the thing holding it.
Yeah.
Like I know they didn't see Leatherface's face until the hitchhiker's head fell over, but still, like, come on, guys, you have a gun.
Yeah. Like they should have won. Like there's no like,
and maybe if you didn't waste
like,
all your bullets shooting signs, you'd have been able to get out of the situation. But
like,
Leatherface chainsaws one of the guys' heads off, like the top part of his head. And there's a decent amount of blood and gore in this movie.
Yeah.
So like,
this is stuff I really liked. I thought, I really like the look of the kills, and we actually get to look at the kills too, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and
because
they look
Tom
great
Savini
too.
did the effects here.
Yeah.
So he's a very known makeup guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good opening kill, and then obviously the car crashes and kills the other guy. And the state trooper's like, yeah, it was just some sort of crazy drunk driving accident. I'm like, there are literally chainsaw marks in the car. And even Lefty, played by Dennis Hopper, was like, yeah, they just got drunk and chainsawed themselves to death. Like that's not a thing.
They got drunk and chainsawed themselves. That's a rough night.
And Lefty is played by a very coked out Dennis Hopper, and it's very evident that he is just like heavy drugs this whole movie. Like he used the entire paycheck for this movie to get cocaine. So like all of his scenes, he is just going, and it's very clear, which is one of my favorite parts of this movie, is Dennis Hopper just being all out, coked out nonsense.
Yeah.
But Lefty is like another one of the main characters. He's the uncle of Sally and Franklin from the first movie.
Yeah.
Come for revenge to solve the case.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the cops are like, this town doesn't need a panic at this spot. It's like, it's like the Jaws thing of like, we can't go, you say barracuda, everyone goes, what? But then you say shark. So I guess it's the thing of like, you say, like 100 people keep dying in chainsaw car accidents. Nobody blinks an eye, but the second you say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, everybody turns their head. I don't understand. Like, murders happen in towns. Like, someone got shot in our hometown and we knew both parties involved. I'm not worried. Shit just happens sometimes. But yeah, it's like, don't let anyone know that a murder has happened.
Wow.
So Stretch seeks out Lefty for reasons, and was like, you should listen to this tape, even though the tape just has screaming and chainsaw noises.
There's so many clues there.
Not a lot. Yeah, there's not a lot of proof here. It's not like you have like video footage.
Yeah.
And Lefty's like, I don't need your help. I do this myself.
I mean, you could have just easily screamed into a recorder and with some chainsaws revving in the background.
Yeah, like this is not really evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they called in, so like you have that whole thing, but like still, like it could have just been it could very easily be written off as a prank or a
yeah, and
coincidence.
the fact that in effect, it's a coincidence that someone just so happened to die by chainsaw, it completely unrelated to the recording that was a prank.
Yeah, like but like
All
you couldn't
coincidence.
really use it
Yeah.
as proof though. It's not like a solid
No, you
thing.
can't. No, it's not.
And also when they go to when she goes to meet up with Lefty, like you see Toby Hooper, the director, like run by the shot real quick. That was just a fun little cameo for him. But yeah, she basically just gets shot down, and then like he's alone, and he's like, "I got no fear left, no fear left," and I'm like, "There's the fucking cocaine coming out of this man." Like, that's not in the. I don't think Dennis Hopper read the script. I think he just showed up and just did whatever he felt like in the moment.
I mean, no one stopped him.
No,
can't stop him.
Joe Hooper's like, "Fuck yeah, just keep rolling." I don't know what he's doing, but just let him do it. And then we see LG's House of Fries, which is actually pretty impressive. It's a very large house made of fries. That's pretty expert craftsmanship from this guy.
Expert craftsman.
And then we see the town's chili cook-off, which is won by Drayton Sawyer, the cook from the first movie.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What is your secret?" And he's like, "You never skimp on the meat. You always got to have good quality meat." Which should just be a red flag.
Yeah, it should.
But yeah, he won the chili cook-off, but like the trophy, like they pour chili into the trophy. I'm like,
I don't like how that looks.
Who does this? Like, you have to then clean it before you display it.
Yeah, like just display it with like you keep like.
Thanks, Carol, for making a fucking mess.
It really was making a mess. It was like slopping out and shit. Out of the throat. It was gross.
I gotta put this thing in my car later, you bitch. Like, come on now.
I just out in there in parking lot, just stuck dumping it out in the fucking grass. Get the fuck.
Spraying it off with a hose. Like, I just wanted my damn trophy. Businessman always gets it in the ass. He says like 4 times in this movie. Which Drayton Sawyer is the only person that actually returned from the first movie to play this character again. And he does a great job as the cook. And so while he's like in the car driving up, I believe Stretch plays the tape because for some reason Lefty's like, "Oh yeah, even though back there I told you I didn't need your help, I need your help, but I don't want to listen to the tape. I want you to play the tape live on air for reasons." And she's just like, "Fuck it, okay."
Like, why?
Doesn't really make any sense. And like, okay, people are gonna hear it, get like what happens, they get slightly annoyed. And that's it. No one's really going to care.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound real. Especially when they're hearing it on the radio.
Yeah.
But he's got no fear left. And then he goes chainsaw shopping, which is like the funniest scene in this movie to me. Well, the second funniest scene in the movie, where he's just like testing chainsaws and shit. And the shop owner's like, "Okay, all right." And he's like, "Don't you want to test them first? They got gas in them." There's just like a giant ass log. Just take a couple swings at that, which doesn't really sound like what you would use to describe a chainsaw thing. And he just starts going ham.
Yeah.
Fucking log. Again, just I don't think that was in the script. I think they were just like, "Hey, just go ahead and take one swing at it, just make sure it works." And he's still going. Oh shit! All right, keep don't stop. Just let it happen.
Like that's a dangerous thing to just kind of go willy-nilly with a chainsaw like.
He doesn't even have like any like distinct pattern of cut. He's just like hitting it from all angles.
Like, I feel like if I was working there and I said, "Hey, you want to test out a chainsaw?" They're like, "Yeah," and they start doing that, I would stop them and tell them they shouldn't be
This
buying
shop owner's just like,
chainsaws.
yeah, you cut that wood. And I'm like, yeah, you should be slightly alarmed, man.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, she's playing the tape, and the cook gets a call on his car phone, which is like a very dating thing for this movie.
Hey, that was cutting edge technology.
You're not wrong at the
Good.
time, yeah. And
Car
he's like,
phone.
I told you to stay off the damn phone. And then like, you turn on the radio. And he does, and he hears the song. And he's like, you done did it this time. His rants, man, he fucking gets this character. Because his character is like the same in both movies, essentially.
Mhm.
So they're basically gonna be sent to put a stop to this radio lady.
Yeah.
So LG goes to leave Stretch by herself, and Chop Top breaks in.
Yeah.
And this is the first introduction to Chop Top, who is the twin brother of the hitchhiker,
Hmm. Yeah.
who was
Which
in
I did not
Nom.
know. Yeah, I didn't know he was the twin brother to the
Yep.
hitchhiker. My first few viewings actually of the movie.
Because
I
during the
just
first
glanced
movie,
over.
he was in Vietnam, and then now he's back,
Yeah.
and he has a plate in his head, which
Yeah,
he
which
keeps burning a
I
coat hanger to pick
yeah,
and eats the
I fucking
skin
hate
off.
that. I hate that. Like that rubs me the most wrong way that any movie scene could really do. And I've seen a gingerbread man jerk off.
That's true. Multiple times.
Yes. I hate watching it. It's just it makes me fucking just recede into myself.
Yeah, this is
Like,
Bill Moseley's Chop Top. Bill Moseley is a great actor. Most people know him from the House of Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, those movies.
Yeah.
But he's so good in this movie. He's just like,
Yeah.
music is my life.
He
You're
plays the
my
character well.
Yeah, you're my favorite record lady. Can you guys play that In a Davida Gata song by Iron Butterfly? That's heavy, man. So he's kind of like stalling her and like getting her in this corner for Leatherface to pop out of.
Yeah.
But when Leatherface
Which
does pop up, he just saws the plate on his head, which is like horrible aim.
it is. It is.
Because
At least he's
Leatherface
got
is
the metal
played a
plate.
bit. That's true. He's got the metal plate, but Leatherface is played a bit differently in this movie. Whereas like the first one, he's kind of like this mentally insufficient kind of brute, and in this movie, it's almost like he's a little more mentally aware than
Yeah,
the first movie.
like you see him. Jesus, like there's someone fucking bumping right out my house outside my house right now. My whole house is shaking. Jesus. Yeah, like you actually see him like actually like show like mercy towards people
He
in this
actually
well,
like he has more cognitive abilities. It's not
yeah,
just fear and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and killing. Like this is
Which yeah, like I think it's good to flesh out a character like that, especially like fleshing out a character like this in a
well.
movie that isn't really
If he
supposed to
was
take
still
itself so
mentally
seriously.
insufficient, they couldn't make
Yeah,
him horny. So
yeah,
they had to make
yeah,
him
like
horny in this movie because that
yeah,
drives the whole plot for him
yeah,
forward.
like you could be mentally inefficient and still get a boner.
Yeah, but like
It might be a little harder.
he's very aware of
Yeah,
what he's doing.
yeah.
Uh,
Overall, so I still like how he is portrayed though in the movie. For the most part.
but yeah, so Chop Top is left with his. We actually see the whole plate this time because he's almost picked it out.
I fucking hate it.
And Leatherface is sent after Stretch, and she locks herself behind this really heavy door, and he saws at it, and then his saw just like dies, and then he's like, "Oh shit!" So he goes back downstairs, and Chop Top he has some pretty good lines here, where he says Dogs gotta hunt. Dogs will hunt. I don't know why that makes me laugh. It just does. So Leatherface, like Kool-Aid Man's through the wall and like uses the chainsaw as a dick and kind of like, because there's always been this like study of like fallacy in horror.
Yeah.
But like this is on the nose. Like this is fucking right on, because he like rubs it up her leg and she's like, show me how good you are. Like she's like feeding into it so she can not die.
Yeah.
And he goes for it. He puts the chainsaw right in her pussy.
Yep.
Like it's like, well, okay, that we're doing this. And then he proceeds to hack up the room and leave, which was I guess a way to mimic an orgasm. I don't know.
I think it's just him. I think that was probably the first time he would have ever gotten that kind of reaction with somebody. He probably has no idea what the fuck to do. He probably doesn't even know how sex works. Let's be honest.
Probably not.
Who would have taught him that? Like he's just having all these weird
yeah.
feelings that a 12-year-old should have gotten explained to them by now. But he's like fucking in his 40s. Yeah, he gets so confused. He's like, I want to chainsaw everything. I want to go chainsaw fucking everything but you.
So he lets her live, and Chop Top LG walked in, and Chop Top is hammering the hell out of his head during all this. He keeps saying, "You've got mail." And then when he comes back, he's like, "Did you get that bitch? Did you get her?" And he's like, "Mm-hmm." And he's like, "All right, cool." And so they dip, and she follows them to back to their hideout. I don't know what her plan is. She doesn't really have one. She just kind of follows them. Like she should just be like leaving. Like, all right, you survived. Yeah. Congratulations. But like Sally would have left. She would not have followed them home. Because the only reason she went to their house in the first place is because she didn't know it was their house.
Yeah.
And also, instead of like just a house in the middle of the woods, it's like an abandoned amusement park.
You gotta
they do a lot of really cool set design stuff with it, but it's like, where the fuck was this?
I think what it is that since they had like an actually like decent budget for the second movie compared to the first one, and they had there was this idea of making it not a very serious film to begin with. I think
they really wanted to go to the comedy. So they're like, let's
go
all out with the set decor.
Yeah. So I think they were just doing stuff that they thought was cool at the time. And
but it's just such a weird contrast.
Yeah.
Where, when we're watching these back to back, and you're like, believable like house in the middle of the woods to fucking Texas battle land. It's such a weird contrast. And then Stretch is following them and then is chased by a car for a while. Like it's played for horror, which is this movie actually has a soundtrack too, unlike the first movie, which has just a lot of like dead air.
Yeah.
But it's just Lefty who just didn't tell her it was him the whole time and is like chasing her with a car. I'm like, why the fuck are you not saying something, man? Like it's the cocaine. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
I have no fear left. It's oh man. But they finally realize that they're the other person. But then Stretch just falls through the fucking ground for plot reasons.
You gotta move that plot forward, man. No matter how many holes you have to make.
And then he tries to give her like a spoopy skeleton hand to pull her up. I'm like, it's an old bone. Like it's gonna break. It did. I'm like, why would you use that?
That's
it just doesn't make any sense. And then while since she falls through, she finds like he on his way through finds a bleeding wall. And he kicks it, and it's like Evil Dead style, like meat's just spraying out of the wall. I just thought that was sick. Why is there meat in the wall?
You gotta have that good quality. Never skimp on the meat. Never skimp on the meat, man. This is that quality meat that keeps.
And that's when Dennis Hopper takes like 2 bumps in between this take, because then he's like, bring it all down. I'm bringing it down the hill. And he screams. That's my favorite part. I quote that all the time, because he's just screaming that the rest of the movie. That and Bible verses, the rest of the movie. And it's fucking awesome. So then Stretch makes her way and finds Chop Top and the cook arguing, while Leatherface is, cutting up more meat. Gotta get that quality meat.
Quality meat.
Prime cut. And while he's like chopping it, Elegy, he finds her because she won't stay the fuck quiet. Like, what is your goal here? What are you trying to do? And like, we know what Lefty's doing. He's bringing it all down. Just let him bring it all down. Why the fuck are you here? Try to find an exit. Don't just hang out right by the bodies.
Just leave. Like,
yeah.
Like, why are you here in the first place? Fucking go home.
But he finds her and he puts Elegy's face on her face. So then we have like this crying girl with like this like stretched out man face, which it's you can't not laugh at it.
It's pretty great.
And Elegy's still alive somehow. After all the hammerings and literally being cut for meat. He sits up, spits, cuts her free, and then just kind of like has that long ass drawn out sigh he always does, and then he dies. Meanwhile, Chop Top now has the hitchhiker's body, which he's now like walking around with, but it makes more sense for him because it's his brother, like his twin brother. Yeah. And then Lefty finds Franklin's body. And he's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't save you. But now I'm going to bring it all down. Like, he tries to act for a minute and then just goes right back to the cocaine. Like, it's just a couple of seconds of like, I'm an actor. Then he's like, fuck it, bring it all down. And so the cook is noticing all these beams that are being cut. And he's like, what is happening to this building? It's going to cost me $1,000. A businessman always gets it in the ass. And then Chopped Up has a good line where he's like, I know what we should build next. It's everyone's favorite idea. Nomland. Napalm. Boom. Who passed this guy's psyche valve to get into the war? Which I guess in Nam, you're just getting drafted. I don't really think they cared.
Yeah.
But they let this guy on a battlefield. Yeah. Nomland. It cracks me up. I don't know why. So then they see Stretch just run down a tunnel. And the cook's like, who the fuck was that? Like, why are people just running through our house now? Like, they don't even chase her. He's just like, hey, you guys saw that? It's not just me. Like, person just fucking ran through here. So Leatherface does end up chasing her. And she's like, let's talk about this. I'm trying to be open with you, but this is a lot right now. And I'm like, you don't have to explain yourself, Stretch. You do need to get the fuck out of there, which is what you should have done like 4 times by now.
Yeah.
And so while they're talking, Drayton and Chop Top find her, and they're like, and Chop Top is making fun of him, like, Bubba's got a girlfriend. And he's like, you want to know about sex? Why didn't you just ask me about sex? It's a horrible thing. It always gets in the way.
Jesus.
You gotta choose. It's either sex or the saw. And the saw is family, which is gonna be like a main tagline for the series later. So it's kind of like it gets brought up here. So then we get dinner scene parte dos. And Grandpa's still fucking alive.
Gotta keep him around, man.
Because of this liquid.
Although he
diet.
seems a little more. He seems a little more
animated.
Yeah. This one.
Yeah, like he actually moves a little more and expresses more. Because in the first one, I legit thought he could have been dead for most of it.
Yeah.
Like only when he starts sucking on her finger do you actually know he's alive.
Does a little old man dance.
Yeah. Does that little
Okay.
That was the best part.
Yeah. But yeah, this one he actually gets like a he gets a swing in.
Yeah.
This time around. Like if he does.
And
move.
He's like licking the spoon and like doing all sorts of weird shit. And then after a while, Drayton's just like, whatever, get to it. He swings the hammer. And then Lefty arrives. And the cook tries to bargain with him. And it's like, listen, you can't bribe cocaine. Like, this man's unstoppable right now.
Yeah.
So he saws the cook's ass. And he says a businessman always gets it in the ass. So then we get a motherfucking chainsaw fight.
Chainsaw fights.
Which is awesome.
You can't really go wrong with chainsaw fights.
Even in the worst movie, they work. And then Chop Top chases Stretch while everybody else is fighting. And Leatherface gets a chainsaw to the stomach. And the cook pulls the hitchhiker, which we now know his name is Nubbins, and pulls the grenade out of his little camera bag sack. And it blows up the grenade, kills everybody in the room. But Lefty did it. He brought it all down.
Yep.
And then Chop Top gets a light bulb to the plate, so he gets electrocuted there for a second. And then she just fucking yeets him. She chainsaws him and yeets him. And then because she took Grandma's chainsaw, Grandma, who is very fucking dead. And then she just does her own little chainsaw dance right there at the top of this is supposed to be an amusement park, but I don't know why they have like a fucking like giant ass like altar.
Like, for the kids.
So that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So we're gonna head into the trivia. As far as like familiar faces, Dennis Hopper's been in a bunch of shit. I didn't have a whole lot of time to pull up all the stuff that they've been in. Caroline Williams, who plays Stretch, she's been in a few things, but typically a lot of the things she's been in pertains to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like she's spoofing herself in a way. Like in Sharknado 4, she plays Stretch. But also in Hatchet 3, she is in that film, and she kind of plays a version of Stretch there. So, she never really escaped this character. And then obviously Bill Moseley did, House of a Thousand Corpses and everything like that. But as far as the cook goes, this is his last film performance. He died shortly thereafter the release of the film. So no more cook. But the poster for this movie is literally them arranged in the Breakfast Club poses. So it's like the exact same as the Breakfast Club poster, but just with these characters, which I find hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
And this was made by Cannon Films, which is like notorious for being cheap. Because Cannon was basically like they would take like famous movies and just buy the rights to the sequels. So like all the Superman sequels, I believe, well, at least the third and fourth one were through Cannon. Some of the Rambo films were through Cannon. It was basically just like, let's take existing properties and just make money off of them.
Yeah.
And the budget for this movie would change depending on how the other movies were doing in the box office, which I thought was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Primus used the line "Dogs will hunt" in one of their songs.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool that they took a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 quote.
Yeah, that was a Jerry's race car driver.
Yep.
That's that one. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that. Like, yeah, that's funny.
Look at you go, Primus. Stretch was actually in the original script meant to be Lefty's daughter, which would make more sense of why she feels the need to help in this case instead of just getting the fuck out of there. But
maybe they wrote it thinking she was, or like
well,
they
in
did write it as she was. Yeah.
In the original draft, she was, and then they just
So.
cut that part out, but kept in like.
But the motivation,
yeah,
in a way, yeah, weird.
Oh, Hooper kept the saw Leatherface uses in this one. Actually, it's in a glass display case at his house. Gunnar Hansen, who was Leatherface in the first movie, was offered this movie but declined, which, probably he regretted toward the end of his life because he could have been, Leatherface multiple times instead of, I don't think there's ever been a person that's played him more than once. So, he could have been he's still the guy everyone talks about because he plays, the truest form of him. But, still it would have been nice to, play it again.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was a fire on the set, and when the firefighters got there, they found all the dead body props in the ashes and thought they had discovered something worse than what they actually were there for. You can imagine, like, it's a small fire, and they just got to put it out, and there's like all these, corpses.
Yeah, that.
So yeah, Cole, give me your final thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
It's definitely a very different movie from the first one. Not bad. It's still good in its way. I do like how they shoot a lot of the scenes. Like they're very intimate in a lot of the ways. And one of my favorite scenes is when it was Stretch and fucking one and the metal plate head.
Chop Top.
I think it was him. Chop Top. Yeah, forgot his name. But they were just standing, on either side of her doorway. That's just completely black, and then the light just flicks on, and then
there's Leatherface. He pops out a few times. It's very effective.
Yeah, I just liked that one scene because it gets me every time. It really does.
Me too. I know it's coming, but I never know the exact second in which it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So that this movie's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna go, it balances comedy pretty well with the gore, and I never felt anything was like, yes, there are plot holes, but like I just really enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. I don't know how much I like them trying to like fit it in with like their like predetermined, like pre-stated lore and stuff when they were trying to make it a bit more of a comedic film. But
I don't know, on the rewatch, I think the first one I like more than this one.
Yeah.
But this one is pretty damn good, and especially we're next week we're covering Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and I think we're gonna start hitting that point where we're like, oh boy. So it's nice that we've had fun here for the first couple of Texas Chainsaw movies because we're probably not going to be having fun here soon for a while.
Yeah.
So that's going to end our coverage on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Until next time, stay safe, stay nerdy.